official call is under review. Let's go to the monitor.
SEC football. It just means more. Now back to your favorite bearded duo, Todd and Marty.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Under Review Podcast. Such a good week, as we say every week, but we've got a lot to unpack today. The first college playoff rankings are out. Who's in, who's out as of right now. I think some of our games of the week could affect that. Really want to jump into that later here in the show. Got a few things. I'm still working technical difficulties here, but just bear with us. So let's go, before we jump into things, let's go check with our sponsor, and we'll get right into it.
This episode of the Under Review Podcast is brought to you by Chuck's Heating and Air. Chuck has over 40 years of service and experience with residential services. He services most makes and models. He is Alabama licensed, bonded, and insured, and locally owned and operated. Are you hot and you're supposed to be cool? Are you cool and you're supposed to be hot? Then you've got a problem. Call Chuck. Area code 256-892-2757. Again, 256-892-2757. Chuck's Heating and Air.
There we go. Just call Chuck. Like I said, the weather's getting cooler and you want to stay warm, just give Chuck a call. One of the best in business, great guy, can get you took care of. So let's jump into it. Earlier this week, the college playoff has come out. The first 11 teams that are in, first 12 teams that are in. Here we go. Kind of break it down just real quick. Number 1, Oregon. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3, Miami. And 4, BYU. I really don't see any of these teams budging too much. Miami probably would take the ACC, but they're going to play up against a really good SMU team. I think Miami's can do it. I mean, they're not overrated. They play really well. Cam Ward really excelled this year and brought it on as the season has went. Oregon still could go. I think they're going to look at playing Indiana in their conference championship. BYU, they didn't have much of a test in theirs. I think they could possibly stay. But the biggest one here for me is going to be Georgia. You know, Georgia has, one more, or they go to Tennessee after the Ole Miss game that we're going to talk about. And then I think they've got like UMass or something like that. So possibly could fall just with a little mix-up. But I don't think if they do lose in at least one of these games, I don't think they'll fall out of the playoffs, but they'll still be here. So let's take a quick look on the other side. As of right now, Indiana and Tennessee are the 8 and 9 game, which could be a great game if they can make it. Tennessee still, take a check right here. Tennessee still goes to Georgia and Vandy, so it could get shook up. A loss there would, I think, definitely would kill any of their playoff chances. So, and Indiana's really been really good, and they still have the championship with Oregon that I'm looking at, so that could be where they stand there. Next team's Ohio, Boise State. I think Ohio State's going to be in regardless unless they just totally fall off the wagon the rest of the week or rest of the year. Boise State's electric. Gentry still, I think, is the Heisman front runner. I think he can do a lot of good things there and keep them in the playoffs. So the last game, I can't really super see, but I think that's Notre Dame and somebody. Oh, let me flip over real quick so I can see it. Penn State and Notre Dame. Yeah, Notre Dame's electric offense. Penn State has struggled, but they put up the numbers to win. So I think a loss with either of these teams coming into the season before their final could mess them up. But just so much to break down as far as the playoff. But the biggest game here is our game of the week, and is SEC. It's going to be the Alabama and LSU matchup, which we'll definitely get into. We really think it's going to be the best game of the year. I know we've had a couple of games that we've said that, but this week it's really true here with this rivalry that's been on over the years. So with that being said, take a pause for a little transition. And now let's jump into our games that we're looking at before we get into our games of the week with our special guest. 11 o'clock on ESPN Network and ESPN Plus and ABC. Florida travels just across the way to go to Texas at DKR Stadium. Not a matchup that's I think is going to be fun to watch. I mean, yes, Florida has had some grit. They've really fought hard, but their quarterback situation in Lagway, me and Todd talked about it early, this kind of an undisclosed injury, whether he's going to start, whether he's not. If you don't want to mess him up any further, you still sit him. And then Aiden Warner's going to jump in and play. Really didn't have the best numbers. I know he threw a pick last week. So Lagway can help you win that game. But I'm not putting all of my Gator eggs in one basket for this matchup. Quinn Ewers is still at quarterback. Manning's still there. They've got the talent. I think Texas takes this one maybe by 20. Maybe it's time to sharpen some of their other skills here, work on some more of the running game, pass game, get your defense more involved before when you get to you've got Arkansas, Kentucky, and Texas A&M left. So you can sharpen some of the skills before you get into this playoff unless you hit a road spike or something and lose one of these games. Well, after that game that we're going to talk about, next game, 6 p.m. ESPN. Another could be blowout game. A top seam taking on a bottom seam. Tennessee holding up that 7th rank with 4-1 in the conference. And then at the bottom of the barrel, Mississippi State on that 0-5. Just can't seem to break through anything in the SEC as we've seen. Tennessee's a 94% favorite to take this game, which is not surprising. But we do know that they need to sharpen their tool belt a little bit here. As we've seen some of the struggle play with Nico. Now, Dylan Sampson, on the other hand, he's pretty sharp. The kid's 4 or 5 touchdowns in the last game. The offensive line looks good. You know, maybe some silly penalties later on, but hopefully they can fix that and just tune something up to continue this run that they have going, which could end up, you know, maybe a national title. I don't think they're the best team that could be in the playoffs from the SEC or other conferences, but they do have a chance. We're not going to count them out. Van Buren is, for Mississippi State, Van Buren is their dual threat quarterback, but he can't do it all. He's going to have some help. Kevin Coleman Jr. was banged up last week. I know I seen him coming off the field while we were watching the game at dinner. I don't know if he's back. The full injury report's not yet. Is that Devin or David Booth, you know, at running back? You know, it's going to have to take some more carries, take some more punishment if they're going to find their way to win. Not likely, but they're, like I said, they're not going to lay over and take it, but who knows? So, again, I'm going to go with the Vols, Sir Nico, Dylan Sampson. Dante Thornton Jr. really excelled this year, and I think it won't be another problem for this one. So, transition. Now we're going to jump in to our special guest picker. Let me click some stuff up. Man, friend of the show, long time, really does a lot for us now. You'll finally get to put a face to madness, mayhem, or whatever. Jump real quick. Sorry, I did forget about the bye weeks. So this week, Auburn, Arkansas, Kentucky, who all could use one, they're not doing anything. Me and Todd talked about it. I think this is a good week to polish on, do some things, get some other guys in, work your woes out, and I don't want to say start looking to next year, but basketball season is getting really close, and I think these are 3 teams basketball-wise, they're going to be really good. Calipari at Arkansas now. Auburn's kind of rebuilt with the recruiting class Pearl's got. Kentucky's got a really cool floor to play on. So we're getting excited for that. But A&M, you've still got one or two little matchups right here in the SEC. You still have a chance to go to the SEC championship. You're still sitting at number 2. So do what you got to do. Get ready to finish out the year strong and be in that championship. So I got it back now. So now we're going to go to our guest picker. Just a lot of fun. Hopefully we can get him in here without too many mess ups. What's up, my guy? What's up? So I just quickly went over before you jumped in the other 2 games that we had. Florida, Texas blowout, Mississippi State, Tennessee blowouts, and I kind of jumped into the college playoff that was released earlier this week. With the early predictions, there's 4 teams in that, which Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, and Texas. With 4 weeks left in the season, how much you think that's going to change?
You know what? At this point, I don't think it's going to change very much. I think you're seeing the cream of the crop right now. I don't think anybody else has got the mustard or the biscuits to get on in, to the playoff contention.
Right, definitely for the SEC. These have been the top teams all year, so I'm not surprised at these teams. But with our game of the week, probably like we've said a couple of times, it could be the game of the year. And that LSU Alabama game Saturday night, I think that's going to be the biggest test right here for the playoff, because I've talked to 3 or 4 LSU fans that I know, some Alabama guys, and right here it's either nut up or shut up.
You're
win.
Exactly right. And for those of us who are neither LSU nor Alabama fans, but just love the game of football as a whole, like we've talked about, and now we can put it out on the air. It's really a fence post game. I mean, you've got LSU plays just hard-nosed football.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama plays hard-nosed football. They both got, good stuff on either side of the ball. But when all's said and done, like you and I have discussed in the past, even though there's not really a sure enough set rivalry between Alabama and LSU, they have always played as though it's a rival game. So when it's time to strap them helmets on, baby, they getting at it,
Yeah, I think more recently this has more become a rival game, especially considering Nick Saban's ties to both schools. And when I was doing a little research for the game, it's also called the Saban Bowl, which who knows? I mean, they had Saban. I think they got 1 title out of him. Alabama turned around and get 64. So,
right.
I know you're busy, man. I know you're at work, but let me flip over to some things, and we'll start going through our games real quick.
Okay.
All right. First one for this week is number 2 Georgia going to Ole Miss. 3:30 ABC, 2:30 Central, whatever, however that goes. I confused me. So shoot me what you got. Georgia sitting at number 2, Ole Miss at 16. Ole Miss has really struggled, but Georgia has 2. So what are you looking at?
So, I agree. Everybody has struggled doing their own thing. I think, just from what I have seen over the years since Kiffin's been there, the goalpost zebras or the land sharks or the whatever it is that we're calling them, I think they've topped out. I think this is where they're going to sit, in the mid-teens. I think, neither one of them have really got anything to prove necessarily in this game. I mean, Georgia, you go in there and whip their tail. I mean, you whipped a number 15 team or whatever,
right.
Big shot. But they, Kirby wants the W.
Most definitely.
So I think when all's said and done, Georgia's going to walk out of there with a W.
Most definitely. Some of my notes here, shocker for one of the first times this season that Georgia is an underdog in this game. 53%. The predictions have got Ole Miss to Georgia's 46.
Wow.
A little bit shocking to me, but we know Georgia, we talked about last week, Georgia's they pick which two quarters they want to play. Lately, it's been the last two, so we can't know. But on the scope of full things, Georgia has the most to lose. They lose this game, I don't think depending how far they drop, I think if they do lose this game, because I look at my schedule and they still got to go to Tennessee. So if they end up losing two, it kicks them out. I don't think this would be a super big hit, but like you said, Kirby wants the W, so I don't think he's going to hold back any here this week.
Yeah, I think he's going to still. I think he's still going to just keep applying the pressure the same as he always has. Because I mean, you guys can't do nothing but get better. And if you don't apply the pressure, if you don't, make plays, go for the ball, drive, you're never going to get better.
Yeah. Other side of the coin, Ole Miss takes a win right here, and a few other things happen. I think they can limp in the playoffs. I don't see they could survive. It'd be like shark infested waters, because once you get to this level now, it's such good play every week from each team. Yes, you can have a bad snap here and there, but once they add up, it's going to kill you. So if they get the win, they can limp, but I'm not seeing it happening. Again, I like Georgia here.
Yep, absolutely Georgia all day.
All right, so another 3:15 game on the SEC network. The banged up South Carolina Gamecocks travel up to Vanderbilt, adjacent, however you call it. Vandy's sitting best they have all season. They're 4 or 5 game win streak, number 24. They're ranked first time since 2018 last week. A lot of crazy things could happen in this game.
Yep.
So, where you looking at this one here, bud?
Anchors down. Pavia's doing Pavia things, man. He's got a great line with him. He's got a great receiving core. I mean, they doing things for the first time probably in my lifetime. They're actually doing things. South Carolina, I'm just going to be brutally honest. I haven't looked at them too awful much. I was watching them a little bit earlier on in the season, and they hadn't shown me anything particularly. I'd much rather go sit at a funeral than watch South Carolina football.
Well, I mean, you get that with South Carolina sometimes, but the one thing that we've talked about all season is South Carolina's defense has been one of the better defenses in the SEC.
That is true.
So, but I mean, Vandy is the underdog here, being the higher ranked team, but I think South Carolina the last couple of games have just put on a defensive clinic. Where's they at? Especially against Texas A&M last week. After the bye week, they played Texas A&M, beat them by 20, really stepped up. South Carolina defense, 31 sacks, 11 interceptions, and 16 forced fumble, leading the conference. And when we were at the Auburn game, yes, Pavia still did his thing. He still had 2 touchdowns. I mean, Auburn stuck him with under 30-something yards. I think it's going to be a high-pressure situation. I don't think Vandy has enough offense for South Carolina's defense.
I see that, but in the same turn, I don't know that South Carolina's necessarily got enough offense for Vandy's defense.
Yeah, I'm just saying constantly they have showed they can do it, but it's the quarters. They have a 3 and out punt. Defense bails them out. Defense have bailed them out more than once. So I don't know. Nick, I wrote this down, see if I can pronounce it right. Nick Chamawori or something, one of their best players. He's got 52 tackles and 4 interceptions. One of the best DBs in the SEC to jump on the other side of the South Carolina ball. Lenore Sellers, Rocket Sanders played excessively great for South Carolina. So, And I think South Carolina's on a high. Yes, Pavia is the man at Vandy. He's going to need help. He got 2 touchdowns last week. They were less than 10 yards apiece, little shuttle passes. He looked frazzled against Auburn's good defense.
Yeah.
So I'm a big defensive guy. I do like numbers for Vandy-wise, is what Pavia has done, but I got South Carolina here.
Really?
Yeah, just the defense, man. The defense has showed me too much and as much as I don't say they struggled, Vandy, offensively, but I think it was too much.
Yeah. I'm still gonna stick with the Commodores, man. Anchors down all the way, dude.
Oh,
I'm so happy for them and what they've accomplished this season. So I'm gonna ride with the underdog.
Oh, most definitely. Me and Todd said that, at first, we didn't know what they had. We looked at them, hey, if they win 3 games, let's throw a parade for them. But now is what they're doing. I think Clark Lee's got them in the right direction. Super excited. Always going, I love the gold and black. I do like it. So
Yeah.
good luck to them. But I don't think this week's going to be a week for a victory.
Yeah.
All right. So while I was doing some research here, I found out another fun fact. Let's say I love every week finding new stuff. Let me get into the intro and we'll talk about it. Oklahoma Sooners travel up to Missouri, wherever that's at, up to Missouri at the one of the 6:45 late games on the SEC network. Not a lot, 60-40 for Mizzou here. I think this is, I don't want to call it a mid-pack game, but it really is. I think both teams are under 500 or right at 500. Missouri being at 2-2, Oklahoma 1-4. I don't know if it'll be fun to watch, but just the stuff I found out that this was a rivalry game.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to get a little long-winded, so bear with me. The Tiger Sooner Peace Pipe Trophy is what they battle for. And the only thing I could really find, courtesy of ESPN, I found this picture of them two gentlemen, as we all know, on a peace pipe with some jerseys on. So I looked more into it, and apparently 1904 they started playing each other yearly, and it wasn't much of a rivalry. Well, back in early 40s, one of the chiefs at Oklahoma, one of the professors, had gifted the College of Mizzou a peace pipe. And they continued to battle it back over years and years, and it was highly known, but the schools would trade it back and forth. Couldn't find a picture of the actual trophy peace pipe. But in 74 or 75, apparently Oklahoma lost it. They lost the peace pipe. So, and that's what I'm figuring. How do you lose a peace pipe of your storied rival of the professor who's sitting over some native chief of some tribe? I don't want to get into, because I don't remember, don't want to disgrace the Indians or whatnot. But I just thought that was another fun fact that I found out. Another bowl game. I got into like 160 different rivalry games that I had no idea about, but this was a more interesting to know there wasn't a lot about it, but still to find out that it was a rivalry.
Super cool. Super cool. It'd be it'd be really neat to find the rest of the story on that whole deal, because I've never ever heard of this rivalry or whatever. So that'd be super cool to find the rest of the story to it.
Right, just for fun, because there's not much to talk about as the game wise, but still, like I said, I found
who sucks worse.
Right, the trash can game where the Spider-Man's looking at each other. You're trash, I'm trash. But no, like I said, I think I found that on Wikipedia, and I done just a little bit. They showed some photos, but it was just a photo of like a tiger head on a peace pipe. I didn't think that was it. It looked probably a more traditional long Indian pipe. But yeah, I would definitely like to find out more on that, just for especially SEC wise.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Mizzou, yes, they were supposed to be a high caliber team this year, top 5 maybe. Possibly could have won the SEC if other teams weren't so powerful. Really don't have much. I mean, Mizzou, Brady Cook, he's been injured 3 or 4 times. Went to the hospital in the Auburn game. They can put up numbers. Nate Noel, I think, is back. I think he come back last week. But they are their offensive makers. Oklahoma, Jackson Arnold with 5 touchdowns, and Michael Hawkins is their backup quarterback, which maybe they can figure out what they're doing. I don't know how much they have left in the season, but I know they both struggled. They'll replace them back and forth. So I really, like I said, I'm not 100% to pick one, but if I'm having to pick just numbers-wise, I'm going to pick Mizzou.
Yeah, I think I'm going to ride with Mizzou as well. I've actually got a vendor here at work that is from Oklahoma, and it has his business in Oklahoma, and is a huge Oklahoma fan. And he and I talk a little bit here and there, and he's like, Judd, I don't know what in the world is going on with Oklahoma. You know, I thought we were going to come in and be a powerhouse, and it turns out we're nothing more than a glorified JUCO.
No, that's
So,
that's definitely how it works in the SEC.
Yeah.
So
Yep. So I'm with you. I'm gonna stick with Mizzou on this, and we'll just kind of like going to the dentist. You just grit and push through it.
right, like I said, I don't think any team here has left anything for the SEC or the playoff race. You know, again, could be worse, could be better, but I think at 6:45 I'm going to be on other games, especially the big one.
Absolutely.
All right, so this is probably I did learn a lot about this game. This is your alma mater, Jack State.
Absolutely.
Gamecocks. Yep. Remember, you can't read good.
That's right. I can't even read good.
That was the funniest night I've ever had. Us and the boys. That was a great trip.
It was a blast.
Yeah. Let me shoot some numbers here. All right. Jack State's traveling to La Tech. Jackson State's 4-0 in the CUSA conference. La Tech sitting at 2-3. Still can put pretty good numbers up. This is a CBS Sports Network game, so I don't think it's actually on TV. But wow, I didn't think Jacksonville State's really good. They're tied for a top spot in Conference USA. I don't remember. North Texas or somebody was up there with them. But wow, they look good. Louisiana Tech, they have struggled, but they're not at the bottom of the barrel of the CSA. They're, I think, within 6 games or so of being there, so not too bad, but excited for this one just because the ties to Jack State, as many games as we've been to and seen. But the total race overall in the CSU, I think the top 4 teams are within 1 game. I think Jack State and whoever it is tied 4-0, and like the next 2 teams are like 3-1, 4-1. They're really close, and I did look at their schedules, and I think Jack State does play the other number 1 team later in. So could be a really good ball game just to figure out how far Jack State can go this year.
Yeah. So, me being Jack State alumni, I'm hoping for a total decimation of La Tech. I don't necessarily think that total decimation is the right term for what can happen. But I know their quarterback Tyler Huff, he's got like 1,500 passing yards, like a 65% completion rate. He's good with his legs. He's rushing for like 784 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've
8
got
touchdowns.
Do what now?
Got 8 touchdowns on a 75% QBR rating, which is really good.
Yeah. And then you've got probably I would consider his right-hand man, especially on the ground game, Trey Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
He's got like 914 yards, like 15 touchdowns, something like that. And then 5 in the air for 74 yards. And then who's the other kid? Mike Petway. Petway's, nailing it down. And then Cam Vaughn, I think he's got like 380 receiving yards or something like that. So they've got the tools for sure. I think if old Rich Rod sets them in motion, they could really do some damage here for La Tech. And if something happens, if by some miracle of God Jacksonville State can't pull it out against Louisiana Tech, then by God the marching Southerners can.
Yeah, blow Southerners blow.
That's right.
Well, like I said, but La Tech's defense is not bad.
They're not shabby at all.
No, 14 sacks on 6 forced fumbles. The defense can really be pivotal, but with Huff throwing 1,500 yards, he has the receivers to do that, which I don't think it goes any other way than Jack State unless Jack State can't get out of the tunnel. So,
right.
which could be hard, but they've never been too far to La Tech. So, all right. I'm going to see if I can mess this music up for Todd. This week's Game of the Week, brought to you by Under Review Podcast, is going to be your number 11 Alabama Crimson Tide, taking their talents to Death Valley, the home of the LSU Tigers, holding up a 14th ranked at ABC ESPN Plus at 6:30. Again, like I said, could be the ball game of the year. We know we said that with Alabama and Georgia, but I think there's so much more to lose right here. Can you see the graphic on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if you could. Like I said, found out this is called the Saban Bowl. You know, we've always heard first Saturday, November. But the biggest one is that post-it note right in the middle. Win this game and stay alive. Lose this game and you're done. What you got?
I don't know.
I
really don't know. It is such a I have had for probably the last 45 years of my life. I have not liked LSU. I've never liked LSU. I'm never gonna like LSU. If you're an LSU fan, I'm sorry your parents raised you that way. But at the same time, you know, I don't personally care for Alabama either. So, you know, I want both of them to lose myself. But that said, like we were talking about initially when I first got onto the podcast, it's just a dogfight every year between Alabama and LSU. It always has been. It always will be. They just both teams just strap the helmets on extra tight and they get at it. I mean, defense is thumping, offense is thumping. The daggum Water Boys is thumping. I mean, they pumping out high quality H2O.
Exactly.
So I really and truthfully, I would just, you know, basically do a coin toss on this to give you my pick 'em, because I have no earthly idea how or which way this is going to go. I mean, it could too be that, you know, one team or the other doesn't show up to play. I mean, because that's what it looked like between Bama and Vandy. But, you know, it could be that LSU don't show up. It could be that Alabama don't show up. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to consider.
Yes, they've both had games that way. Alabama didn't show up. Vandy, LSU has looked super sluggish. Well, I guess that first loss of the year was okay, but you fought back. I got a few numbers here. Alabama is the favorite, a 70-30, which is not surprising because I thought they have been electric. You know, LSU's got big wins. Ole Miss, South Carolina, but they weren't too big because they were all within 3 points of each other. So,
right, they were squeakers.
Right. But, you know, South Carolina, the defense is still there. But I think my game changer for this is where the quarterback's going to play. Is Milroe got his struggles out, or if he can be that has Heisman quarterback that we have seen in some games, especially the Wisconsin game. If he comes to play, I don't think it's no other way. Because I think Bama's back seven has really picked it up. You know, they saved them against Georgia and a few other wins. But on this other side of that coin, Nussmeier is 208 for 333. That's still a 62% rating. He throws the ball. He throws it, he's thrown it 333 times already. Got a few picks. I didn't look up. For some reason, I didn't write it. Yeah, I did. 20 touchdowns, over 2,000 yards and 6 interceptions. So that's not terrible for putting it up 333 times. But I think Alabama's back seven's a little bit better. I think that linebacker is still out for the rest of the season. Russo, I believe that it wasn't Russo. He was at Tractor Supply, something other that I had seen. But no. And again, Alabama's defense has bailed them out time and time again. So if they can do that, like I said, for me and you, I hope they both lose. If they both lose, I couldn't be any happier.
That's right.
But professionally wise, I think Alabama's going to win. If Alabama does win, Brittany's happy, I'm happy. But happy wife, happy life.
Yes, sir.
I know Miss Hope feels that way.
Yeah, she wants the Tiger Band and the $1 Million Mistake to get in the fight after the game.
Right. Been there, done that. So, I mean, like I said, this really could be an awesome game. I know I'm excited for this one. I wish, hopefully, I could find that JSU game. The Georgia Ole Miss game is going to be electric. So, let's see if I can do this without ruffling too many feathers because I don't remember what slide I had after this. All right, guys. Well, that's mostly of our show there. Again, I want to thank Jud for jumping in, the voice of the Under Review podcast, stepbrother, side papa, whatever you want to call it.
I like the way that first one sounds.
Right. So any sponsors out there, y'all looking, we do have sponsorship plans. Get a hold of us. We can let you know special rates on this, merch rates, all kind of stuff. Did you talk to Todd about getting y'all's hats in?
I did.
Okay, I knew they just got another shipment. We were trying to get merch out because it blew up when we put it on. I think we sold a good bit of stuff, which I love. I love seeing people with our stuff on.
Absolutely.
Again, special thanks to guys at Dad Pod, Hunter and Nick, HCS Media, Hayden Coker. Of course, thanks to you. But biggest, man, I have been on the phone, I know, for 2 or 3 hours this week with Brandon. He has helped us out so much. Since I'm working this by myself, I can barely turn on my cell phone without messing up. I think we've done, I know I worked an hour last night after working the polls yesterday and the night before. And just, man, he's been awesome. I think for everything he's done with us.
Yeah, Brandon definitely came in clutch on this whole deal. So,
because
good job, Brandon. We appreciate you.
High five, high five. Wait, what was that? Slap hands, slap hands. So let me hit some few buttons. Out to intro. Again, thanks, Jud. Can you do the outro now live in person?
Absolutely, I will.
All right, hit it up for us.
Thanks for taking the time to go under review. Join us again next time, and we'll go to the monitors. Until then, keep your flag handy.
Yes, sir. All right, man. I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, brother. Love y'all. Be good.
Love you, man.